It's no secret that Generation 4 has two of my favorite things in the entire Pokemon franchise, the Poké Radar and My Pokemon Ranch, so naturally it was inevitable that I would eventually combine the two. Speaking of shiny hunting in My Pokemon Ranch, I'm also hosting our first Ranch Week of the year coming up June 3rd through June 9th. I plan to always run Ranch Week the same dates every year, mostly because these June ones are specifically chosen to end exactly at midnight on my birthday. If this is your first time hearing about Ranch Week, it's a shiny hunting event where you can hunt in any Generation 3 or 4 Pokemon game, and any shinies you find in post to Twitter or Blue Sky with the hashtag Ranch Week show up on a week-long stream of My Pokemon Ranch that will be happening here and over on Twitch. If you're looking to hunt something unique, check out the spreadsheet in the description made by Togeticcs that lays out how many of each shiny everyone has found, as well as which ones we still need to unlock special event cutscenes. We found some really amazing shinies already during last year's, so get ready to do some Generation 3 and 4 shiny hunts and I'll hope to see you there. Here's an interesting question. Only counting regular radarable tall grass, how many of the 493 Pokemon in the National Pokédex can you obtain in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum? The answer, as it turns out, is 305, comprising nearly 62% of the entire roster of these games. With that being said, there are some that are more difficult to find than others. For example, not every one of these is something you can just go out and catch any moment you want. Many of them only exist for a day as part of outbreaks of non-native Pokemon that swarm a given area before dispersing. Others will only appear at a minuscule 4 or 8% rate when specific Game Boy Advance Pokemon games are inserted, and even further still, some of these species have extremely low 2 or even 1% encounter rates only while using the Poké Radar in specific areas. But despite all this, in early 2022, I unknowingly embarked on a shiny hunting journey that not only made me interface with tons of Generation 4 mechanics and learn new information about my favorite shiny methods, but would ultimately lead me to finding almost 400 shiny Pokemon just to watch them amble around what amounts to an elaborate digital fishbowl. Around early 2022, I had been ribboning a certain Shadow Scizor when I decided to make a video about a forgotten Pokemon title that I had on my childhood Wii, exploring all the obscure hidden cutscenes that hadn't yet been documented in English. After recording all the cutscenes, someone in my chat suggested that I keep My Pokemon Ranch running while I stream so people can watch the Pokemon walk around. After setting it up and depositing some shinies that I had recently hunted with a Poké Radar, I realized that I finally had the means to do what I could only dream of as a child. Fill a ranch with all 493 species of Pokemon, shiny and not, and create the ultimate Pokemon Ranch. The first few shinies I radared were mainly based on chat requests. I added a reward on Twitch that allowed viewers to add custom Pokemon named after them to the ranch if they watched my stream for long enough. If their request was a radarable species, I would go out and hunt it, which explains a lot of the stranger names you might see around the ranch. Now, both because I want this video to be more interesting than a long string of "and then we went to this patch of grass and got this shiny," and because I didn't hunt every single one of these on stream where I was recording, I won't be showing every single shiny encounter. Instead, let's go over some of the more notable ones. This one was the first shiny I radared specifically for the ranch before I even found Toast. My longest radar chain for this challenge was 60, where I caught 20 Makuhita over the course of 2 days to fulfill the requirements for the Sumo Parade event. This was actually my first chain where I had back-to-back shiny patches, with another shiny patch spawning directly after a shiny encounter. Unfortunately, this was one of the many shinies I radared while on vacation, so there is no recording, but the same thing happened to me during my Bagon chain. Yeah, I've got all the Rotom forms hanging out. So we can have the Rotom Roulette event. Honestly, that's the only way it could have happened. We take the back-to-back. That is what I deserve, dare I say it. During my Trapinch chain. Now even if I break the chain, I can just do Vibrava chain, which is way easier. Except for the catch rate, but we won't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're stack on the ranch.
Let's go!
Oh my goodness.
Massive. Wait, are you serious? Are you
nice.
serious?
That was easy. Now everyone's got the full set.
Yeah, what the heck?
I am now the second person to ever get back-to-back radar patches for Trapinch. Because this happened to Willow Bat during Ranch Week. This is exactly why she submitted 2 Trapinches, because she got back-to-back patches.
That's awesome.
When you say
Well, now I gotta
Trapinch
figure
is
out what
already
ball
up.
I'm catching this in, and it's gonna be a Vibrava. And also during my Diglett chain. See how many of these guys I can get beyond the first 2 shinies for the Whack-A-Mole event.
I've been streaming for 4 hours with a cough. That's pretty gaming. Also,
All
my
those
shoulder
cough
hurts,
drops,
but
and for
I've been
what?
trying to not complain about it. But
Oh my, what
failed.
is happening?
Did you get back-to-back
I
shiny
got
patches?
another
again?
Already?
back-to-back.
Yo,
That's
that's
wild.
the whole one.
Suffering from success.
Radar is the most busted method.
It really is. They were just like, hey, no one will figure this out. And then they were right for 15 years.
I'm thankful for these particular back-to-backs, as I consider Route 228 to be one of the hardest areas to radar. The low visibility compounded by the fact that Trapinch is a 2% encounter only in Diamond and Pearl, where the grass is even less visible than in Platinum. I even put Diglett on my shiny bingo card this year in order to force myself to practice in the sand, only to find Trapinch first. 2 of my radar chains, Kricketot and Ekans, had a shiny patch directly after the 40th encounter. Well, that's literally the first time I've ever had the shiny patch be directly after the 40th. I found it. Cool. Out of all the radar chains, only a single one had 2 shiny patches at the same time, something that has only ever happened to me before radaring Azumarill in Kalos. Not to jinx it, but we're coming up on the end of the radarable shinies, and I still have not gotten a double shiny patch in Gen 4. I jinxed it. So, who was I hunting yesterday? No, it was Loudred yesterday. Okay, so during the Loudred chain last stream, I said, I don't want to jinx it, but we're coming up to the end of the radarable shinies, and I have not gotten a double shiny patch yet. So sorry for jinxing it, everybody. The earliest shiny patch I had was for Growlithe on a chain of only 5. It also broke my chain because this is the most corner shiny patch of all time. So definitely was gonna break my chain, but we take those. Second place goes to Murkrow, who showed up at 6. Is that a new record? I've forgotten what my record is. And Spinda takes the bronze with an early shiny patch on 9. Rumble games that didn't have shinies just for the heck of it. Pokemon loves okay. Shiny patch on 9, that's my New record. And of course, with all the Pokemon we're encountering, shiny patches aren't the only way we could find shiny Pokemon during a radar chain. You see it sparkle. Same thing happens with Sky Parade. I don't think any other events focus down a Pokemon like this, but when they do, they have their sparkles if they would normally. That's a full odd shiny Weezing on 2?
I may be stupid, but at least I have an auxiliary now.
I may be stupid, but I am free.
So true. Yeah, I think I'm probably still in Salacion. Yep. I still have to do that. And now I don't have my Grottle, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so it's just 32, 6, 11 plus whatever number.
Or I
I'm
do
at.
have my Grottle. I traded the 2. Okay. Anyways. I now have an auxiliary named Ill.
Oh, he's ill.
Yeah.
Well, Shiny Octillery has jaundice, so he's very ill.
Well, because I've got... yeah. I've got...
Shop I got yesterday had jaundice too.
I've got the quad setup, so I figured I would name one of them Oct, one of them Ill, and one of them Uri, and then just give one of them an exclamation point. What did you do? What did you do? Toast?
I wasn't paying attention. That's a full odd shiny Sunkern.
No, no, you didn't.
No, I actually wasn't paying attention.
You just
I was just
caught
autopiloting.
a shiny
Wait, yeah, that's
Sunkern.
tiny.
Toast.
Okay.
Toast?
Like, actually, I was Googling, like, a YouTube video because I wanted to link it in a different Discord. Like, I was just fully checked out on second monitor mode.
Hang on, let me check the
Toast.
clip to see if it was a shiny.
Yeah, I need to...
No, that was not a shiny patch. That was a fast shaking patch. I remember the patch I went into because I actually have to store that information in my brain for radar effectively. Alright, well. There's the most reactionless clip you can possibly get of a shiny, I guess.
Yeah, what? You just... Toast. You can't just...
That's insane.
Full odds. And you caught it. And you
Yes,
didn't
I was looking
know
at other
shiny
stuff. I would have
until
noticed.
then?
I would have noticed if I was looking at your stream, but I was.
I actually
on
didn't
Discord.
look back at my screen until, like, after I had thrown the ball and it, like, went to the catch screen.
Well, good thing you weren't knocking them out.
Dude, what is your luck?
Sunkern is a particularly notable grab here because it was not only completely full odds, but Sunkern is often considered to be the most difficult Pokemon to radar in Generation 4. Of course, to complete my ranch living dex, I would need a second one to evolve into a shiny Sunflora. A fun fact about Sunflora on the ranch, it'll stop moving at night even if it's still awake, which is a reference to several of its Pokédex entries. At first glance, the route where Sunkern appears doesn't look out of the ordinary for radar chaining. It's not until you realize that this route actually has 2 encounter tables split between the sections north and south of Ravaged Path. These tiny patches of grass south of Floroma Town are the only place you can find Sunkern with the Poké Radar. And those of you who have seen my video on how the Gen 4 radar works know that this is not nearly enough to sustain a safe Poké Radar chain. Over 4 days and barely having any chains reach above 10, however, I managed to scrape together a chain of 40 Sunkern. This took so long, in fact, that I had to close the DS and put it into sleep mode before getting some sleep myself. Returning the next day, I was ready to lock in and hunt down our shiny patch. An unfortunate truth of this patch being so abysmal is that it also negatively affects your chances of finding a shiny patch pretty severely. Not only do you lose any shiny patches that would have spawned but can't due to a lack of grass, but the patches on rings further away from the player are more likely to be shiny, making it even more unlikely that any shiny patches that do spawn will be somewhere you can actually get an encounter. Undeterred by this, on May 13th, 2025, over 3 years since my first radar shiny was added to the ranch, and over 3 hours of resetting the radar, this happened. Poggers. You know what? I will give it to you, Sunkern. Longer than Rhyhorn. Maybe I will make a video about this Poké Radar hunt individually, just because, like, it's very interesting, very unique. Alright, Chain Break on 51. That was a risky patch anyway, but I was like, I've already gotten to my target, so it's like, who cares? Stand proud, Trapinch and Sunkern. You are immortalized atop the pedestals. The 2 hardest radar hunts in the series. With Sunflora saved for last and safely deposited onto the ranch, I hope you've enjoyed this small showcase of some of the more notable radar hunts. But to prove that I did indeed hunt all of them, here's a parade of every single shiny that can be found with the Poké Radar in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Clocking in at a total of 393 radar shiny Pokemon, including duplicates, I've managed to complete over 60% of my Generation 4 shiny living Pokédex with just this method alone. And yet, this is nowhere near the end of this journey. There remain even more challenges on the road to catching every shiny Generation 4 Pokemon, and I hope you'll look forward to seeing me catch more of them all during this upcoming Ranch Week starting June 3rd. And even if I don't see you there, without further ado, enjoy this parade of nearly 400 shiny Pokemon. And let me know which Radarable shiny in the ranch is your favorite.
Bye.